Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. A nation or an economic zone? That is the question dividing the right. Is America more than just an idea? Is it a tangible place with a shared language, culture, history, and traditions? Does it have a purpose, a telos, and specific interests that must be safeguarded by those in power? Or is it just a place for people to do business and to make money, regardless of what priceless heirlooms from our forefathers are sold out in the process? Now ask yourself this: would China allow Americans, especially Americans who are living in their country illegally, to buy up homes and land with questionably sourced funding to convert those properties into massive illicit marijuana farms, of which billions of dollars are made, with some of that money being sent back to fund a hostile U.S. government, and the weed itself is being used to keep your, meaning China's in this example, people ill-tempered, in a haze and lacking motivation, subservient to their own worst vices, apathetic and pathetic potheads? No, China would not and does not allow such schemes, regardless of how much money is being offered. Because for all of its faults, Beijing is at least supranationalistic, first and foremost, and the interests of its people and government come first and foremost, you guessed it. But then you have America. Everything I just said in that example is happening right now in Maine, as exposed by our friend Steve Robinson over at the Maine Wire, who we'll talk to in just a moment. Their investigators have identified more than 100 properties in the state that they say are part of a sprawling network of Chinese-owned sites that operate like the Mafia used to, at least according to some insiders they spoke to. The leak of a DHS memo earlier this year, which sparked their independent investigation, reveals that there are probably more like 270 such sites scattered across Maine, with approximately 749 such properties nationwide, raking in an estimated $4.3 billion each year, with at least some of that money making its way into the coffers of the Chinese Communist government. They are exploiting our lax immigration laws because, like I said, some of these buyers are illegal themselves, shuffling money through various entities to buy these properties, and they're also illegally trafficking some workers, but they're also exploiting our lax drug enforcement laws too. And for this reason, as we've seen in California and New York, with their legal weed markets needing to be bailed out, the black market was only strengthened by the legalization of weed, which is the exact opposite of what we were promised. Joining us now to discuss, as promised, is the author of this piece, Steve Robinson, the editor-in-chief of the Maine Wire. Steve, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So last night on the show, we talked about how the U.S. is funding our enemies in Qatar, which are Hamas political leaders. And also there's that Roosevelt Migrant Hotel in New York City, owned by the government of Pakistan, getting our money because of the immigration problem. But now we hear in your piece that China's profiting off of our drug problem by creating illegal weed farms in Maine, as if fentanyl wasn't bad enough. So how bad is it that your investigation has found that a hostile government is exploiting our lax laws to enrich itself at our expense?
Yeah, this all began when the Daily Caller published a leaked memo from Customs and Border Protection. And that memo just simply said, it was really just an email that said there were 270 of these sites in Maine. And being a Maine-based reporter, that piqued my curiosity. So I went to work looking at real estate records and exploring rural Maine to see what I could find. And the sites ended up being pretty easy to find. That picture you're looking at right now is in Dexter, Maine. That's actually in my hometown. There are 8 such sites in my hometown. You can see the windows that are all boarded up. That's because these sites need to keep out ambient light during the dark cycle of a marijuana's plant's growth. If you let in ambient light, it'll turn it into a hermaphrodite or a male, and that's less potent than a female plant. So at these sites, all of the windows are boarded up, and you can see they've got advanced electrical power. They're very obvious. You can smell them from 100 feet away, 200 feet away. You don't even need to roll down the window of your car. But I think a bigger part of this story is also that I didn't speak with any law enforcement who were unaware of these sites. I talked with a former sheriff in Maine who had met with the FBI 2 years ago about the sites in his county. So the FBI has been investigating this for at least 2 years. Border Protection has been investigating this. The sheriffs know about the spots. The local cops know about the spots. But it seems to just be a jurisdictional mess. And we as a state lack, I guess, the political willpower to do anything about this. And the harm of it goes beyond just pot. There's a lot of people who have said that, read the story and said, "Oh, it's just marijuana. What are you going to do about it? Who cares? We legalized it."